So my first guest this morning is Jill Lockhart from National Records Management. Now Jill is talking to us today about preparing your company for a disaster and the components that go into the recovery. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, Jill.
Well, it's good to be here. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah. So your company has been in business for a long time.
Yes.
Yes. Now I understand this is a family-run company?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Family-owned and operated
Yes.
into the 4th generation now, actually.
Oh, fabulous. So it said that your company was in business for 60 years, and now this is a division of it.
Yes.
So.
Yes, this is a new division that actually just celebrated its 5th anniversary.
Okay.
And
excellent.
Pretty excited about that.
Oh, I bet. And it's a service, of course, that's very well needed in this community.
Yes, definitely.
Now, tell me, how did your company get this startup? What prompted this?
Well, basically, after being in business for as long as we had a lot of files of our own that we needed to do something with, and took a look around and realized that there was a huge need for all the other businesses in the entire Niagara region and the Hamilton area. Mm-hmm. And we saw an opening and figured we could help some people out.
Excellent. So now tell me, like with the advent of digital media, how has that affected record storage and management?
Digital media is a new facet to things.
Yes.
Because it's very tempting for a lot of people to say, well, we're going to scan everything and keep it as a digital archive. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more to it than most people realize.
Yes.
And the problem is that you run into, well, first of all, after you scan them, you still have the paper. Mm-hmm. What do you do with that? Can you actually get rid of it and destroy it?
Yes.
Or are you going to maybe need it later down the road to make sure you scanned it accurately? Mm-hmm. There's also the issue of, what form are you going to store it in? What if you put it all on CDs? Are we going to be using those in 20 years?
Yes.
So there's a lot of things to consider. Digital media is great for things that are going to be in use all the time.
Yeah.
For things that you just need to keep and have a record of, paper is still the best way to store things.
Okay.
And most cost effective as well. So.
Excellent. Okay, so now first of all, let's talk about then what happens for a disaster. What is classified as a disaster for your company?
Well, when you hear the word disaster, everyone thinks volcanoes, earthquakes,
something horrible.
Hurricanes, and in the Niagara region, most people think, well, chances of that happening here are slim. I believe a hurricane did hit a few decades ago, but it can be even more mundane than that. What if your server crashes?
Right.
What if the power goes out? And that happened to a lot of people a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. What if someone breaks in and steals things? And so it can encompass that whole gamut of things, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And then once again, it goes back to that digital age, of your server going down and, the power failure and things not working.
And we rely so much on technology. When you flip that power button, it better fire up. It
better. So what is it that you do then when you go in to help a company prepare for a disaster?
Well, every company is different in what they need, depending what products and services they offer. But basically, we have a template that we use, and I brought one to show everyone. And basically, what we walk companies through is, first of all, figure out what your risk of a disaster is. Like which ones are you most likely to be susceptible to, and then what is going to happen if that actually does occur. Right. And so that involves taking a look at how are your day-to-day operations going to be affected. Okay. What is the monetary component of that? But also, more so than that, what steps do you need to put in place then at that point? And that's where really it gets very company specific, and some people like to put things together on their own. Sometimes we can provide expertise because there is a records component to that. If things burn or flood and you have paper or electronic backup tapes, it gets a little bit grim. Yes. And so we really just guide people to start to think about the problem, because they're the ones that know their business. Yeah. And they're the ones that have to put that plan in place. And it is the majority of the investment companies are going to make is time. Yes. And they have to put that time in. And so our toolkit or our template basically asks a lot of questions that you hadn't really thought of. Yeah. Oh, that could be a problem. That's right. And so it really just makes you think about what can go wrong and how to prevent it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, when you're going out and you're talking to companies, do you find that there's very many that actually have that plan in place?
No, there's not.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit scary because statistically, every company in 5 years is going to experience some sort of disaster.
Yeah.
Once again, it may not be a volcanic eruption, but a server crash, someone breaking in and stealing, say, credit card receipts belonging to your clients. That gets pretty sticky pretty quickly as well.
Yes.
And most people, they thought it'll happen to someone else. And they just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah.
They haven't thought it was worthwhile, or that it was too expensive to do.
Yes, of course. And I understand that totally, being in the computer-related
Yes.
business. You know, we hear of that all the time. You know, a client comes in, you know, my husband's an IT person, and, you know, they come in, oh, my computer crashed, can you help me? Well, the first question is, do you have your files backed up? And it's like, no, you have to
We're
save
supposed to do
them.
that.
Yeah, and so, yeah, as I say, and I find the small business sector, we're the least prepared, yet we have the biggest need
And
to make
actually-
sure, because we're everything.
That's true.
Yeah.
And small businesses are actually more highly targeted by identity thieves than larger ones.
Yeah.
For that very reason. They haven't put that plan in place and the
Yeah.
security measures.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the best thing a business should do right now to minimize that disaster when it happens?
You've got to have that plan in place.
Yep.
You have to know
Mhm.
what you're going to do and also prepare financially for it.
Mhm.
For example, if you know something could cost you $100,000 and you have a 20% chance of that happening, basically leave $20,000 in your yearly budget to allow for that, because that way you're not at risk of a bankruptcy if something happens. And it's
That's
that
true.
preparation beforehand that, in terms of any disaster, is going to make the difference.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the things that your company can do then, is come in and help them with, to get their manual together, to have their preparation kit, and
the other thing I would say on that is, when you have a plan in place, test it.
Yes.
Practice to know, if something happens, who am I going to call? What employees are going to do what? And that will alleviate a lot of problems when something actually does happen.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Jill,
Thank you
for
very
coming in
much.
today.
Thank you very
How
much.
can people contact you?
Well, our website, which I believe is up there, but is www.nrmcanada.com. You can also call us 905-563-0847.
That's great. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.